Hello, my name's Duncan, and welcome to Back Away from the Donkey and Bath Books. It's like a return of the pick and mix, which if you've never seen one of my pick and mixes before, it's just a mixture of lots of little bits of stuff that I wanted to talk about. I'm hoping to get back to some talking about specific books soon, but it's been a very busy couple of weeks here in Donkey Towers, and it's looking like to be another busy week next week. Just lots of stuff going on that's taking my time. But I've got a little buddy read announcement at the end that I'm doing, which I will go into a bit detail later, and I will start off with some recent hauling. Hauling? Is that what we do? We haul? To haul, we haul. We all haul. So just a few little bits. I hadn't planned to do any, but just some bits that I picked up. So, and also a bit of a moan. So I will start off with an ebook. I don't buy huge amounts of ebooks, but this one is The Dossier of Solar Ponds by Basil Cooper. I don't know whether you can see that on my Kindle. If not, I'll have a look on the video afterwards and I'll probably pop a little picture up there anyway. And if you don't know who Solar Ponds is, August Derleth, the the publisher of H.P. Lovecraft's books, much derided by a lot of H.P. Lovecraft community, but I don't get involved in that. I don't think his writing's that bad. When Arthur Conan Doyle stopped producing Sherlock Holmes books, wrote to Arthur Conan Doyle asking if he could continue using the character. He was 18 years old at the time, August Derleth, and Arthur Conan Doyle said no. So he created Solar Ponds. And I only discovered about this week. I don't know why this has gone past me. But Solar Ponds, sounds like Sherlock Holmes, is basically a pastiche of Sherlock Holmes. You have everything. He's got his brother. You've got a doctor as an assistant, and he ended up writing more books on Solar Ponds than Conan Doyle did on Sherlock Holmes. But when August Derleth died in 1971, there was also one of his friends and one of the people he published, a guy called Basil Cooper, and he continued to write on Solar Ponds. And this is a collection of Basil Cooper's writings. This is the first one. I got this from a little place called PS Publishing, which is a small publishers, which I'll actually put a link to them because they've got some other really interesting stuff down there. I think there was some Christopher Priest stuff there as well. And the ebook was an EPUB, and it's really cheap, so it was really good because they're a really nice trade paperback. If I like this, I'll end up buying the trade. But yeah, so my first delving into this character, from reading around a bit, people say as the character develops, he's a lot more friendlier than Holmes. But also you get him exploring things like the Cthulhu. And if you remember, August Derleth actually invented the word Cthulhu. It was his sort of idea, that bit. And he deals with stuff like cars. And when you think Sherlock Holmes is stuck in the back into the 19th century, 1800s, it's quite interesting. So I'm really quite intrigued to read these stories. I don't know whether anybody else has read them. I bet you anything that Michael K. Vaughan has read some of them. I bet you anything that Michael K. Vaughan has. But I'm quite intrigued to read this at some point. I said I put a link to the publishing house because they do ebooks with some of the stuff, and the ebooks are actually this cost me £2.99. £2.99 Scottish pence. And it's an EPUB, and you can do what you want with it, and you don't get problems with the Kindle, and I just popped it on there. But I'm just quite intrigued by this character. I'm quite intrigued, but I'm just thinking. So it's Basil Cooper. So he's pastiching a character that's been pastiched by August Derleth. So is this like pastiche squared? Also, I found another friend of mine told me that actually Brian Lumley, the writer, he also did some Solar Pond stuff. So that would be pastiche cubed. Okay, I'm talking rubbish now. Anyway, but I'll leave that. Anybody know anything about this character, anything, I'd be intrigued. But I had a quick search on YouTube and I found a couple of old videos, a few people talking about it, but not much at all. But it's always quite interesting. So the next bit is I picked up some Star Blazers. I collect Star Blazers. The story about Star Blazers is when I was in about 14, 15, I used to travel from the train from Southampton up to Weymouth to visit my dad, from Wales to Southampton and back. And on the railway station, I used to pick up these. And this is produced by DC Thompson. And I've got another one there. And DC Thompson produced Commander magazine, which explains the size of them. And these are like one-shot science fiction stories. What's quite interesting about them is they never credit the writers or the artists, which is really strange. But you had some people like Grant Morrison did some stuff, and Mike Mahanna did some work for them. And always on the back of them you had some space person from the history of space. And it's just quite interesting little stories. I'm going to do a complete video on them. I've got quite a few of them now. But they were like a thing from I remembered, and I found one once, and I just started picking them up whenever I could. And this one is, that's one, Nightmare Ship. And the other one is a Tomb of Tara. And, yeah, it's pretty decent in them as well. I'll show you that. But yeah, DC Thompson from Glasgow published them, and they actually did a display of some of the artworks and stuff from them a few years back. The same people who produced Commando. And I know that Roy, from Roy Reads Anything, he's big into Commando. So yeah, so that one. And next I've got a couple of books. And due to where I live, we haven't really got any second-hand bookshops. Nearest second-hand bookshop is Inverness, which is a few hundred miles away. And a boat ride. So I can't pick up books like a lot of other people. So I normally have to pick them up second-hand online. So I picked up a couple here. The first one, I'm going to include a bit of my own, is Charles Stross, The Merchant's War, which is part of the Merchant Princes series. And this is book 3. And I've been slowly, that beep was actually R2D2 beeping around. I've been slowly picking these up, slowly reading them, for the past couple of years. This is book 3, and I've been quite enjoying them. Not the first book's really good. It's about a parallel world, and this woman, Miriam Bleckens, I can't remember her name now, discovers that she is the daughter of somebody who comes from this parallel world where big families control everything, but they also come into our world and control finance and other things. And it's like her visit through there and how she breaks out of certain things. And it's really quite an interesting concept. It's more fantasy than science fiction. It's sort of a mixture of both. I think Stross wanted to write a fantasy book to move away from one publisher or so, from what I remember. There's now 9 books in the series. I said, this is book 3. Now, the story about buying this is I brought this online off World of Books, who is a sellers I normally avoid, because in my experience, about 50% of them I end up having to query and send back. But went for this one because I wanted this cover because it matches the other ones, because I'm like that. And so I thought I'd risk it. This was meant to be in very good condition. Okay. Look at the state of that spine. And I said, in my experience, World of Books, 50% of them I've had to query. So I've contacted them, and they're going to send me a replacement. And they got them. But that's why I normally avoid them. But come off it. How's that in any world very good? Okay. When the spine's done that. So the pages are going to fall out soon. So I've got another one winging its way over here. But that is why, that's the problems I have. When you can't physically go and get them, you've got to sort of guess. You've got to go with it. And there's certain online sellers that I know I can trust by their grading of what they grade as their second-hand books. But I said, World of Books, if you ever deal with them yourself, they're not easiest. And then you get the problem with, sometimes if you have one that's damaged, they will sort it out quite quickly. Like I just contacted them, they said, yes, we'll send you another one. But the other thing is, if they haven't got it in stock, they say, oh, just pick another one for the same price, and that gets a bit of a pain in the arse. But yeah. And the other book is one that might shock you. It is from 2015. So a modern science fiction. Shock horror. And that is a book by, this is an ex-library copy actually, and it's in really good condition. It's by Adam Rakunas, and it's called Windswept. Okay, and I got intrigued by this because reading the synopsis, it sounded more old-fashioned, not old-fashioned science fiction, more like the science fiction I love. Sort of golden age-ish, almost up to the 80s. It just had a feel about it. And it's about a labour organiser and a plague hitting a planet and how she's having to do stuff. And it just sounded quite intriguing. I don't know huge amounts about it, but it's part of a trilogy. Okay, this is where we get the issue. It is part of a trilogy, and the second book has been published. The third book hasn't. This was published in 2015. The second book was in 2016. And I cannot find any trace online about a third book being published. So this could be a case of, if I really like it and I read the second book, it could be a case of not getting to read the third one. But I'm not obsessive. I'm not like the George R. Martin or the Patrick Rothfuss fans who want to burn them at the stake for not finishing things. I'm still waiting for David Gerrold to finish The War Against the Katorf, which last was published in 1995. So I've been waiting nearly 30 odd years for a sequel to a book, and which I don't think ever's going to happen. So if this is good, I'll still enjoy it, even if there isn't a sequel. I do hope that they do publish, but I was looking online, I could find very little about it. Even the publisher who published this, he's not listed as, the writer's not actually listed on there at all. I'm going to hopefully maybe try and find out a Facebook page or something to contact them. But yeah, if anybody's read this, I've been intrigued, because I did another search on BookTube. Couldn't find anybody talking about this book at all, obviously. I said, this is a library copy. And I said, it's been covered. But actually, for a library copy, it's in incredibly good condition. It's in better condition than the Stross book I've got there. So yeah. Interesting sounding book. And also, I like the cover. The cover is really quite interesting. And I know it's got shiny stuff on there, so if I can't see this when I look for it to my brief bit of editing, I'll give you a better picture of the cover. But I just quite liked it. Just piqued my interest. It's probably be a while before I get to reading it. Probably be a long while, no me. So, finally, I'm doing a buddy read with Gavin from Genre Books of A for Andromeda and Andromeda Breakthrough, which I have in these lovely Corgi SF Collector's Library. Notice how the pictures connect in a lovely purple, and that font there is a font called Thalia, which is a Victorian font. So where else but the 1970s would you get purple books with a Victorian font on them? But if you don't know, A for Andromeda was a science fiction TV series from 1961 that the BBC produced, and the BBC managed to basically lose all the episodes bar one, which there was a part one, and so you can't see them. They did remake it in 2006, which I'm going to watch after I read the books. I did a film of it. The follow-up, Andromeda Breakthrough, does exist, and there's actually copies of it on YouTube, so I'm going to probably watch that at some point as well. And it was designed by Fred Hoyle, John Elliott. John Elliott was the writer, well, not the writer, and Fred Hoyle was a cosmologist, astrophysicist, who had some quite controversial views about certain things within the scientific community. But I will get onto that into another video I'll do on this. But the basic story is they receive a message, a radio message from out there and beyond, which basically tells people how to build a big supercomputer. And that is the premise of the thing. So today I'm starting reading this today, A for Andromeda. I'm planning to sit down later on this evening, hopefully get 50 or 100 pages going, because I'm quite intrigued to read this. So that's with Gavin, and I said at Genre Books. I'm going to do a couple of videos on it. I'm sure he probably will, and we'll probably have a discussion together. Whether we do one on video or not, don't know. We'll make those choices at the time. But I'm really quite looking forward to reading both Andromeda, A for Andromeda, and Andromeda Breakthrough. And it's quite nice to actually read it with somebody else. So yeah, that's basically my pick and mix. Is there anything else I need to say? No, we just had a storm here overnight. It's been incredibly windy. Not that you really care what my weather is like, but it's been like that. And yes, that's about it for the moment. I'm not sure what videos I'm doing out next week. I would like to get back to some ones I've been trying to finish off and do some work for, but said it's just been incredibly busy, and it is again next week. So I do not know how it's going to work out next week. I said I aim to get 2 videos out a week, and most of the time I stick to that. But the past couple of weeks it's been more discussion around general bits about books rather than specific books. So I'd like to get back to some more, talk about some specific books. But anyway, I will speak to you all very soon, and I've probably rambled on too long and too fast. And that's it, and have a good weekend, and bye for now.